Hi, guys. Happy New Year. Hope everyone's doing well. Oh, man. Wouldn't be a new year without some sort of technical difficulties, you know?
Yeah, right.
Wouldn't be the show without some sort of something going on. Oh, man. Well, Joseph, it's been, let's see. Godzilla was what, 3 weeks ago? Is that right?
It was.
Two weeks ago?
All right.
Too long.
All right.
Yeah, it has been a long time. But we're back. I was trying to go back through and remember the stuff that we reviewed last year, because my TV list is really short, and I realized I didn't watch a lot of TV this year, like television.
You didn't, did you?
Television shows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had 7 that I put on the list, and I left Wheel of Time off because I didn't finish it. And I'm sure there was some other like random stuff, but it wasn't going to be something that I wanted to actually talk about. You know what I mean? Like if I don't remember it at this point, it's probably not worth talking about. Not that a lot of the stuff on here is. I think actually no, it's about even. To be fair, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So actually, I would say mostly half and half for good and bad. But I had just completely forgotten about some of the stuff from this year, even though we talked some of this. It's only been a couple months since we talked about it. It's just crazy how fast fast everything moves now.
Yeah, just last year we were around this time getting ready for The Last of Us.
Mm-hmm. It's true. Yeah, I was looking on that and I was like, man, I can't believe it's almost been a year since we did that. That opened up last year for the most part. And, the beginning of this year, at least half of this year, is a little better because Reacher is still playing into the new year. So it's like splitting December, January. And it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's got like your typical issues with like action logic where someone will use a machine gun and shoot like a Ford Fusion with it and the bullets don't go through the door. Or at least allegedly. Like there's some like weird movie magic stuff that goes on in it a little bit, but I really like that show. It's been nice to watch something that's just not miserable, like
like The Witcher.
Yeah, or Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, man, because the chasm, if you will, between what at one time was considered bad and what is now bad. It's why I told you I don't really like giving out numbers for stuff. Like I will, because I know it'll give people at least some sort of like gauge. I just wouldn't take the numbers that I give super, super seriously. It's definitely more about the conversation of the individual pieces of work. And then like some of it, I don't know. And this year has been so weird for bad entertainment because there's so much of it now. Like an overwhelming. I don't know what's going on. I have a theory, and I don't know if I've talked about it on the show before. But I think this idea of content creation, and if we were to take the time to sit and define like what content is, in like a modern sense, I think that's the core issue with a lot of what's going on in entertainment. Because you used to have like your typical, like we at least from a movie standpoint, and we've talked about this in the past, but January was typically your like bad month. That's where all of the movies went to die that probably weren't going to make money in other seasons, because January is like a weird season where you can throw a bunch of that stuff in there and something might make money. Right. And weirdly enough, and again, I wouldn't say I would probably put it in the middle. So it's okay, but also somewhat enjoyable. Mithrigan came out in January last year and was actually kind of entertaining. Whereas like The Flash, Indiana Jones, a lot of Mission Impossible, Blue Beetle, The Creator, Fast X, Five Nights at Freddy's. Like, I'm probably going to get in a lot of trouble for this, but, like, Mithrigan was better than Five Nights at Freddy's. Like, it's kind of like what it should have been. And honestly, I think a lot of it's due to the pacing. And I would tell you that's where a lot of these, a lot of the movies that and TV shows that we'll talk about, like pacing's the problem. Sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say that you mentioned earlier that you like, you'll give a number system, but you typically don't like to. And with the movie I watched last night, I came up with a new system in order to rate movies. I don't know if you want to wait till we discuss it and talk about it, but I think you'll like my new rating system for Leave the World Behind. I don't know if you but I think you're right. Like with this year with movies that a lot of things that people think are good. I think what's hard for people to separate is when you look at Five Nights at Freddy's, they're going from their love of the video game over to the movie, and it's like one of the issues with Five Nights at Freddy's was everyone kept saying, "Well, we made this for the fans." And I'm like, that's a good thing. Like you should make things for the diehard fans. I completely agree with that, but I don't think there's a dichotomy between making a film for the diehard fans and a good film.
Yeah, agreed. Because here's let's do it from like the superhero perspective, right? If you were to just like, oh man, well, there is a movie this year that did this. If you were to take like, what's like a good? Let's take like Civil War, because like I think Civil War's pretty top tier for Marvel. If that movie had just been a whole bunch of like lore dump.
Matthew's saying there's an echo.
Oh, I don't hear anything.
Let me check and see.
Had just been a whole bunch of like lore dump.
Matthew's saying there's an echo.
I don't hear anything. It sounds fine on my end.
Yeah, I'm not hearing anything either.
Sorry,
All
Matt.
right, good to go. Sorry, there's an echo on your end, Matt. You figure it out.
We've done enough we've done enough IT work today. What were we talking about? Yeah, so like say something like Civil War comes out, and there's like all of this like lore dump and all of these references to the actual Civil War comic, but the story sucks and the characters aren't all that interesting. And they go, well, it was made for fans. It's like, well, that's great, but it's not very good. Like there are things that still need to be involved in a movie that has a lot of lore or background. And like the one that I'll always go back to at this point that I think has been done really well is oh shoot, it's slipping my mind. Arcane. Where there's a lot of lore involved in that, and they've officially, I'm pretty sure, come out and said that Arcane is now the official lore for League of Legends. So moving forward, everything that comes out of that, like that is their actual lore, which I think is really cool. And they took like a lot of what they did before, and they're now turning it into something that's like, I don't ever have to play League of Legends. I have no interest in playing it. But I really like Arcane, and I really like a lot of these characters, and so for them to really like build out this world and do it in a way that is loving and there's interesting stories going on, and it's doing a lot of the stuff that like, and again, I hope that I'm not biting my tongue when season 2 comes out this year, but as of right now it really does stand in a spot where it's like that's how you do it. So it's like it's why it kind of bothered me that it's like y'all are lifting up Five Nights at Freddy's as some sort of like holy grail of like what needs to happen when it's like Arcane's been here for a couple of years. Exactly. Like you had it already. Anyway, so all of that being said, here we are, and we're going to we're going to talk about some of the best and the worst stuff that came out this year, and varying degrees of depth, I would say.
Let's do it.
And I've got my movie list basically set in order of when it came out. Oh, excuse me, guys. If I bump my mic, I'm sorry. I'm moving my hands around too much. Order of when they came out last year. So from like January to December, basically. Roughly, I've got 31 of them. So I won't go like too crazy with it. And I've already talked about Mithrigan, which is a weird one. Like, I can't necessarily recommend it, but if you're a horror fan, like, it's, it's PG-13. It's just kind of this weird, like, sentient robot comes to life and starts murdering its creators. It does, like, and it's got like a dark sense of humor to it, which is something that, and again, this is probably a topic for another time to go really in depth in. I've been thinking a lot about humor in movies that have like really, really, like, where you need to draw the line and what makes sense for when a movie should have little breaks of like humor, whether it's just like screwball or whether it's more of like on that like dark sense of humor side. And I don't know, because actually one of the other movies that I saw this year, Cocaine Bear, failed at all of that. It's a pretty bad movie. It's not really funny. It was completely sold on the premise of this bear who gets a hold of cocaine and just like goes crazy, but that's only maybe a quarter of the movie. It actually has, and I don't know if you remember this from us talking about Violent Night last year, but it's worse than Violent Night in the pacing aspect that I'm about to talk about. But the whole idea that it's like it spends way too much time on stuff that no one cares about. So like a lot of the characters that they're trying to build, they're almost like trying to, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
hey,
that was a big problem with Leave the World Behind too.
Okay, so it's like with Violent Night, it was, hey, we want more of Santa doing the Santa stuff. We want more of like Die Hard, but it's Santa, and less of family drama dynamics and villain drama dynamics. Like, some of that and a little bit of that sprinkled in is, I think, fine, but it just kind of missed. It knew what its sort of like hook was in like like being Cocaine Bear or being Santa fighting bad guys. You know what I mean? Like those movies knew what they were, but they didn't dig into it the way that they needed to. So yeah, I can't recommend Cocaine Bear. It was kind of a on the whim watch because the trailers looked funny. But all the best parts are in the trailers.
Yeah, that's really what sucks. That's kind of how 65 was. I was really debating on putting that as my worst movie of the year. It was, man, I mean, you're splitting hairs here when I was going over this list. I was really splitting hairs. Like, what's the worst movie this year? And I wish it was the reverse. I wish I was splitting hairs determining the best movie of the year. But this year there was a lot of just straight garbage. I can't remember the last time that there was a year like this to where a majority of the movies were just bad.
Yeah.
Like this bad. Where has the writing gone in Hollywood? You know what I mean?
I know.
It seems like it shouldn't be. It's one thing to just have a bunch of average movies. I'm fine with that. Like at this point, I would love that. But like I'm talking about like bad movies.
Yeah, if we could get, I don't know, well, that's not even. I'm looking at my list trying to figure out average. Oh goodness,
it's not
Joseph.
Average is Silent Night, dude. I watched Silent Night, Leo, Leave the World Behind, The Covenant, Rebel Moon.
Oh, I still need to watch Covenant. Was Covenant
all
any good?
in the last freaking week and a half in order to close out this list, so I could know.
I missed a bunch of stuff,
Good
so I still.
night.
So I didn't see Captain Marvel 2. I haven't seen Thanksgiving.
Yes, Covenant was was
Did you like it?
yeah.
Okay. Would you say Covenant would land sort of in your average to slightly above average, or was it like, did it go a little bit further than that for
No,
you?
I think it was closer to average than above average, but I
Okay.
can see above average.
Okay. But if you
Like,
were if you were to
an
get
average, you consider average what, a 5?
yeah, pretty much. I think that's
Yeah,
fair.
I would say it's about between 6 and 7.
Okay. So if we were to get, because like I guess for me, and it's not a movie, but if we were to get plenty of stuff that landed more in line with like what Reacher is, and not like the exact same kind of content, but the competency of that, where you're like, oh, I kind of like these characters. Oh, this story's pretty interesting. I think I would be happy, and that was not what we got this year.
No,
at
not
all.
at all.
Um,
The main problem with the Covenant was that, which is a problem across a lot of movies that we discuss, is that they could have easily shaved probably 20 minutes off the time and
Yeah.
had a much more effective movie, because there were just certain things that were redundant, and it's like, okay, guys, at some point we get it. Like, let's go, let's kick it, let's keep it kicking. Like, it's a decently well paced movie.
Yeah.
It's just like, again, there's 20 minutes where it's like, okay, guys, we get it.
Sorry, guys. Yeah. I feel that.
Dang, the audience scored it 98% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, the
I
Covenant.
don't think
I don't
it's
care.
that. I could see the critics showing like 83%. I can get that, why people would think it's that. For me,
Yeah.
it was like a between a 6 and a 7. I hadn't thought. I was on my flight to I had to watch it on 2 different flights, on the way there and finish it on the way back.
It's on Amazon. It's been on there for a while, and I keep looking at it and go, "Oh, I'm finally going to sit down and watch that," and then I just haven't.
That's the same thing with me. I was gonna watch John Wick 2, and I was like, no, I just need to watch The Covenant. It's like I had to force myself to do it, because I've been, ever since it's been on Amazon Prime, I've been looking at it like, yeah, I need to watch this movie, and just like not getting around to it. But
I've got let's see. So yeah.
I'm interested to see what your worst movie of the year is. We don't have to get there yet. We don't have
That's
to spoil
fine.
the lead. I'm just saying that.
So I didn't finish Creed 3 because I was on a flight, and so I think about halfway through it, and it was all right. Unfortunately, I guess Jonathan Majors had all of that stuff come out, and so he's probably done in Hollywood for at least about 10 years.
Yeah, I'm sure he has stockpiled money though.
Maybe.
That's true.
And then Sound of Freedom's on Amazon. I still need to watch that.
Yep.
And I still need to watch Oppenheimer, Last Voyage of the Demeter, Gran Turismo, and A Haunting in Venice.
Oh, yeah.
And those will finish out. And this movie, The Bike Riders. Oh, and Iron Claw.
Yep. Oh yeah, we need to
still
watch
need to
Iron
watch Iron
Claw.
Claw.
I've heard that was great. Which I want to. I mean, the trailer. It looked from the trailer like a really good movie.
Yeah,
I
it
watched
looks
Leo,
good.
too.
I heard
You
it's
need to watch that on Netflix. You'll love it, David.
Leo. Is that the one with
Yeah.
the lizard?
Yeah.
I
Adam
know.
Sandler.
Thank you. I know. I saw Your Movie Sucks. Did like a mini breakdown of it, and I was like, this is not for me. I'm good.
No, it's not good at all.
So
It's not good at all.
let's see. Scream 6 was forgettable, and that franchise is probably done now because Jenna Ortega and the main actress.
No way. There is no
What?
way that critics and audience rated Leo 82% and the audience rated it 92%.
I stopped. Dude, Rotten Tomatoes sucks. I don't even know why you're bothering looking at it.
Okay, I gotta go to Metacritic now. Like, that's just like, I watched that movie and I'm like, if you've seen every single other Adam Sandler movie, you've seen this. Like, it's the same like typical jokes and everything. Which, I mean, you got your stick. I get that, but
Yeah.
I mean, I like Adam Sandler. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't anything like. I mean, I guess it's a. God dang, man.
Yeah.
I guess I did, even on Metacritic. Like, they're like between 6 and 7 with it, and I'm like, I guess I didn't see it like that. I thought that was about like a 3. I guess my standards are higher. I don't know.
But yeah, so Scream 6 is pretty much, I don't know what they're going to do with it now because they canceled the main actress because of some of
Oh
her
yeah, what did she do?
She came out in support of Palestine, I think, or like said something about it. And so they canceled, like she got taken off of Scream 7, and Jenna Ortega was basically like, okay, well, I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
You know, not
That is
that,
kind of
and
dumb.
Jenna,
It's like, why taking her off for supporting Palestine? I mean, unless she said
hey,
something horrific, but
no, I mean, I think as far as I know, it was just kind of your generic opinion of that stuff going on or whatever. So, but
and
yeah,
why is she coming out saying who she supports and what anyway? No one cares. You're an actress. Just that.
I know.
Like, it's
Well,
that
no.
simple.
Okay, but yeah, you know that it's like it's all activism now.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
I know.
And it's so weird, dude, because it's like your opinions still have to go on the correct index card, or you have to be with, what is it, like in the Overton window or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You can't, like, if you're,
The
it doesn't,
index card of approved opinions.
yeah, of allowable opinions. If there's if you have an opinion about something, right or wrong, you know, and it's funny, dude, because like, do you remember when people said that cancel culture was like not a thing?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do.
Like, it's so strange to me that it's like, oh no, it's not a thing. Like, that's just like a theory, or like that's just like you're just like reading into these situations too much. It's like, no, they're axing people for their opinions.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And
even in that sense, like,
yeah,
you know, with this lady in Scream getting axed for, again, unless she said something like calling for violence,
someone
or something like that,
someone can correct me, yeah, but I think as far as I know, when it came out, it was like, oh no, she just came out in support of the Palestinians or something. But I don't know for sure because it was a couple months ago, you know.
Yeah.
And then Jenna Ortega was like, oh, I'm just not coming back. And I don't think she needs to. I'm pretty sure she's big enough at this point that she can get whatever roles she wants. And I don't think Scream is helping her career at this point, though I think that movie did okay.
I think she's probably being wise in trying not to get typecast as a specific character, you know, since she did, whatchamacallit, Wendy, or no,
Wednesday.
Yeah, Wendy. Oh man, I forgot I watched that. Did that come out in 2023 or 2022? I don't know.
That was last year. That was 22. Now that we're here. So let's see. Oh, dang.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
So hang on. Scream 6 had a production budget of $35,000 and it made $168 million. No, $35 million and made $168 million.
Okay.
So it was very successful. And a very weird time for that to come out because I think it was like March. So I don't know who's still going to see these movies. Like, they really haven't been very good in a very long
Gen
time.
Z, man. I've found, and obviously I don't know everyone in Gen Z, but I found like it seems like Gen Z is a lot more easier to please with movies and shows. Like, who's rating all this stuff so highly?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess some people, you know, people are still going to movies. Scream is such a weird one, though. You know?
It's that name recognition.
I guess so. Maybe, like, Jenna Ortega being in it has, like, more pull than I realize. So I guess we'll have to.
Probably does, considering social media and everything. You know what I mean?
If they make another one and she's not in that one, we'll have to see if it, you know, we can find like the connection there. You know what I mean? Sorry, what was the next one you wanted to talk about?
Actually, wanted to talk about another movie that came out this year, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
Which to me, Dungeons and Dragons was all right. You know, like below average to all right.
Well, isn't it funny that I think? No, I mean, I would probably put it into like average, like 5-ish. Especially and it's maybe it's not fair. Like, man, it's like this is why I really want to lock in like a good um
metric system on how to
yeah,
methodology on how to review this and
because
how to
it's
do the ratings for them, so we can have a good, clear thought process out when discussing it.
yeah, and to be fair, like some of it is just it's been so long now. I mean, D&D was what, summertime,
It was summertime.
something like that. I mean, the reviews are out there. Like, I'll stand by that for the most part. And it's not like I'm not allowed to sort of like tweak my feelings about a movie. I didn't hate it, but it also didn't. Like, I've seen a couple people be like, "Oh, it's my favorite movie this year," and I'm like, I don't understand that.
Biggest problem with Dungeons and Dragons was that I thought that I've already seen it in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And, kind of this Marvel-esque type movie. But, I mean, I know other people had fun with it, and I get where people are coming from. I don't fault people for being like, hey, this was a good movie to me. I can see where someone would be coming from with that. But to me, it just seemed like seeing another Marvel CGI fest.
Yeah.
You can't ever take things serious, and I think I was at the time too with myself just stuck in the mud with all these Marvel movies, and that's probably didn't help myself in watching this movie.
Yeah, maybe Dungeons and Dragons needed to be a little more serious. Maybe it needed to be less of a
slapstick comedy.
Yeah,
of a ragtag group of individuals that come together, which I don't necessarily mind that. But
no, and there's some interesting stuff in it from what I can recall. But yeah, and maybe that's been my problem this year is like I would really like I'm almost, maybe it's a mood thing, but I would prefer stuff that's like more serious with levity in it than like light in tone with some serious moments.
Yep.
It's like, okay, so take because like an example of that. I'm jumping ahead just a little bit, and I don't need to talk about the creator anymore. Like, there's a whole review of it on YouTube that we did, or that I did, like breaking everything down. But that was kind of an example of a movie that like I really wish it had just been borderline fully serious, because the jokes that are in it are bad.
Yeah.
It's not like they're not good. They really drag the movie down. Now it's not the only problem with that movie. I mean, the creator really did turn out to be pretty average to below average. I know some people that just like hated it, but like I think there's some, at the very least, there's some interesting stuff there. That it's a movie that I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, it's a movie that it's a movie that should have stayed in the oven just a little bit longer. They should have tweaked it. They should have done some rewrites, because it's really disappointing that
there's potential there for it.
Yeah, pretty cool. A lot of interesting stuff going on there. It has some interesting themes and pulls from like actual history in a few places that I think works for the setting. But the actual the actual plot is just kind of not great. And like I said before, the jokes drag it down really bad. But yeah, D&D, for me, it's mostly forgettable. It's not something that I'm going to be thinking about a whole lot. It does make me want to go back. Sometimes it does make me want to go back and watch the stuff that's like, man, it's not like real fresh in my mind. It's like maybe I would have a different perspective. Like D&D is a movie that I could see watching again and having a slightly different perspective on. Now, I don't know if that would go like more positive or more negative. But yeah. I don't know.
Well,
did you see Shazam, the new one?
Yes. No. Yes. A bit of
Fury
it.
of the Gods.
Like, yeah, I'm not
pretty forgettable.
This movie.
Yeah, it's got what's her face in it?
Sorry, Zach, but
yeah,
that movie. Whew. DC this year is the epitome of like playing everything safe and just creating like, bad to below to average like below average to average movies, I would say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see it. I try not to see a ton of them. Didn't go see Aquaman. because at this point I just don't care.
Yeah,
But yeah, Shazam was a wet fart.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
did go see The Little Mermaid,
Oh,
and
by all means, because this is one that I did not see this year.
I just gotta say, I'll let you know, but I'm still. This is gonna go down to the wire for me, David, on what the worst movie of the year is. The Little Mermaid's in serious contention, only and mainly
Wow.
because of Aqua Phoenix or whatever her name was.
Aquafina. Like the
Aquafina,
water.
yeah, Aquafina. Um, that rap sincerely gave me a headache.
I did. That's the only
And I,
thing. That's the only thing I've seen from that movie is her song.
and we discussed it earlier, but
Yeah.
earlier in the year I talked about it, and that's the first time I can remember in a long time going to a movie theater and getting a headache because of the content within it.
Yeah.
And a rap, and I was just like, Aquafina, I understand you got that bag for this movie. I'm sure some good money. They better paid you enough for that freaking rap because that's some of the worst garbage I've ever seen in a movie, which is saying something considering all the Marvel movies I've seen.
Yeah. Which is one thing I haven't seen any of the ones that came out this year. I'm not counting Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse because it's Sony.
Well, you saw Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, that's right. So that's the only one I saw this year. I didn't see Quantumania or the Marvels. Now,
Yeah, I didn't see
will I at some point?
Omni-Mania
Maybe.
or the Marvels.
The Marvels is
Don't
like
lie.
the Marvels is like a sick curiosity at this point. But I'm waiting. I'm just waiting until it's on streaming.
I just want them to release the Snyder cut of the Batgirl movie.
Yeah. We'll get there.
That's the movie we never got this year.
Listen,
Batgirl.
we got to go out on a high note, so we gotta wait for that one. But
yeah. But yeah, no, The Little Mermaid was a huge, just magnificent waste of time. But the other one that's in contention that I told you, I was thinking of a new kind of way to review movies, to like some kind of metric to gauge. And after watching Leave the World Behind, I figured it out. I give that movie 26,171 bombs since the Obamas executive produced it.
oh jeez.
Because that movie, dude, David, you want to talk about the most pretentious piece of dog crap, waste of time of 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's like you go to an art gallery, you see this piece of crap artwork, and there's someone there that's trying to tell you like how great and amazing this thing is, and I'm like, dude, all he did was take green paint and just launched it in the air and see where it landed, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm all for abstract. I'm not talking about legit abstract artwork,
Sure.
so we don't get any nasty comments. I'm just
who
saying,
cares,
like,
but-
something that like you go somewhere and it's like, no, this is absolute crap.
Yeah.
But someone's trying to be pretentious and talk about how sophisticated and great it is. That's how Leave the World Behind is.
Yeah. It's probably just money laundering.
It's got,
You know?
it's got to be. Like, don't get me wrong. I enjoy Mahershala Ali, and seeing him in the movie, I was like, I miss seeing him because he's such a good actor.
Yeah.
And then Kevin Bacon plays Kevin Bacon really well in the movie.
Oh. Okay.
There's like really only one scene with him. There's two. Like, he's technically in two scenes, but the first one that he's in is probably only like 15, 20 seconds. And then the second one, you actually get to camp out there for like 5 or 10 minutes or so.
Listen,
And that scene is fine, but like that movie doesn't make any sense.
we're getting the sequel this summer in Civil War. So I hope you're ready.
Yeah.
I can't
ready.
wait, dude.
I'm always ready for social programming.
Right. John Wick 4.
They're turning the frogs. No. Old John Wick 4, man.
Yeah, this movie, especially over time, has, I think, soured more. Though I'll say this.
Really?
Yes.
It's soured on you? It's
Oh
grown on
yeah,
me more.
dude. No, that movie is
I've gone the opposite
no,
way from
that
you.
movie's not good. and it's really annoying, because it's like the staircase scene. He's basically invincible until he's not.
Oh, he definitely has some.
It's not even
Do you think
plot.
his
It's not even
plot
plot
armor
armor, dude.
is
It's
the same as old girls, Korra's in Rebel Moon?
yes.
Think it's the same, or do you think she
No,
has
it's 100. It's like 100% the same.
100% the same?
Yeah.
Oh, he does have some thick plot armor.
His is even. You could probably argue his is more ridiculous because like they wrote in that his suit is bulletproof and he's running around putting the suit above his head. And then I'm thinking to myself, like, and maybe we talked about this when we reviewed it, but like, why didn't they just make masks out of that material?
Yeah.
Like, if that's possible. And then like, not only that, but it's like, so does the suit? Okay, so the suit just stops bullets. It doesn't like the idea of like energy from a bullet hitting you doesn't exist either. So it's like, okay, sure, it's like you're not dying from the bullet, but like, do you feel anything? It doesn't really seem that way. They just kind of bounce off like it's a really thick piece of metal or something. He jumps out of like a 3-story building and doesn't die. He gets hit by multiple vehicles and doesn't die. And it's like, it doesn't do enough for me in the opposite way, because it's like, it's kind of a scale, you know, where you're like, you're kind of putting weights on the scale of like, is this good? Is this bad? Like, where does this sort of weigh out ultimately? And like, there is one really good wonder shot, like when he uses the
Augustus Tiberius said, "I might unsubscribe now."
Sorry, John Wick 4 is not very good. You are more than welcome to like it, but
Yeah, I've gone the opposite way from you. It's kind of growing on me. I just think they need to, with the fifth one, they need to decide and lean into. Do they want to go more comical with it, like lean into that more goofy side, or go back to the more serious tone?
well, that's the
of the matter?
yeah, that's the thing, is it's kind of like the tone's kind of a mess, and it's like
I think you're right. Like they could have still kept all of that and how had him get sincerely injured, and then have his the friends that were in the movie help him and come to his aid. But yeah, no, I mean, he definitely had some serious plot armor. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about that. And I do want to say, just mention real fast, Happy New Year, Dungeon Master Blaster, General Stonewall 57, Sandy, and Augustus Tiberius. They had said Happy New Year in the chat. So I just wanted
the
to.
troll room. Hey, I mean, listen, they're
Yeah.
the troll room for a reason. Yeah, no, I mean, like, there's no forgiving that stairway scene.
Dude,
You
Dungeon
can't
Master
defend
Blaster,
that.
what's
You can't
wrong
defend
with you?
that. You can't defend
He
that.
said, "I saw the first John Wick and I zoned out every time the action starts." If I could put you in timeout right now, I would put you in timeout for 1 minute for saying that about the first one. The first one's great, but yeah, no, you can't really defend him falling down 4 flights of stairs. Every time I see that,
Dude,
I
it's
laugh.
so
I literally went
so
to
goofy.
watch it recently just to laugh.
All right.
And then he falls 3 flights of stories, isn't that right?
Oh yeah, he jumps out a window, falls 3 stories, and smashes onto a vehicle and gets up and walks away. It's like, okay, cool. Black Widow, anyone? You know, like I can't look at like Black Widow in particular, and then let John Wick off the hook for some similar stuff.
Dang, David's getting some pushback out in the troll room. The trolls are coming after you,
Bro,
for
dude,
your
John
Wick 4
dude,
reviews.
John Wick is like a sacred cow to people. Like, I like the first movie, and I think they get progressively worse for the most part.
I thought the second one was a bit worse, and then the third one brought it back closer. I think the third one's probably the second best one.
It's probably fair. I just don't remember, dude, because it's like it's 2.5 hours of just like action, and I get it. Like, some people are into that, but it's like, I don't know. If you're expecting me to have like a different opinion or whatever, it's like, whatever.
Don't waste your time with Silent Night, dude. That trailer.
Was that like the best of it? Like, was the movie? I'll probably check it out at some point.
Yeah, do it and then let me know your thoughts. I'm telling you, man. I mean, slugfest.
All right, the next one I got on here is the Mario movie.
Oh yeah, good movie.
Yep. I don't think it's gonna blow anybody away, but I thought it was pretty solid. Good
I
pace.
thought it was pretty solid.
Good
movie as well,
pacing.
especially the payoffs.
Yeah, it may be that movie may be an example where the pacing might have been a little too breakneck. You know, like it's pretty dang go 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 go, which like I guess is fine.
I don't know. I liked it. I think it was.
People are still like upset about the Peach controversy, where it's like she's kind of girl bossy, I guess, because she's like she's the ruler. I don't know. I remember us talking about this at the time, but it's so funny to me because it's like, well, she's kind of girl bossy, and I'm like, I don't. Okay.
I don't really think that holds water in this one because it shows she went there as a child, so of course she's gonna have spent all this time training, but
yeah,
it is what it is. I mean, people just see a strong.
People
contend to this day and age to see a strong female character lead, and due to all the hot garbage out there of to use this word, I know we don't like using it necessarily, but the woke agenda kind of just women being Mary Sue's and everything.
Dude, Rebel Moon.
Because they can't have a weakness.
We'll get to it, but there's a difference.
I don't really see that with her in that movie, and Mario still gets to pay off at the end. It's not like she subverts him. If she would have subverted him at the end and been the one to save the day, I would have seen that. And I'm like, okay, you're calling this Mario. If this was Peach, I would more so understand that.
It's not like Mario died in the first 15 minutes and the rest of the movie was about Peach. Oh, speaking of television shows, I almost forgot about that one. Scott Pilgrim.
I still got to talk about my television shows, my worst ones of the year. And best ones.
I just think like I'm all right with it, like with her character and the way that she's characterized bothering people if they were hoping for something a little more traditional from Peach. Totally fine. I get the criticism. But I think when you stack her up next to what would probably be considered quote unquote girl bossy, something like Rebel Moon, what they did with Ramona and Scott Pilgrim, the TV series, Ahsoka, Witcher.
Oh gosh, The Witcher's terrible about it.
I just don't. It's just not on the same level for me.
Yeah, I don't really see it. I don't.
I don't know.
I try to consider it, but her being a girl boss, I don't see that aspect. Because again, when I go back to Arcane, and I need to go watch Mario again to remember everything with it. But I thought Peach had a weakness in there.
Well, I mean, I think she gets beat by Bowser. At the end, but it's again, I haven't seen it, and that movie came out pretty early this year too.
Yeah, I only watched it one time, so. Oh yeah. Speaking of terrible TV shows, I would have to. I had to give it to The Witcher. The Witcher takes the worst TV show of the year for me. I mean, you do have Wheel of Time, Citadel, Night Action.
Was Citadel this year?
It was.
We just never. Okay, we just decided
I watched
to cover it. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. I just couldn't remember if it was this year or last year.
Yeah, it was this year. But though so Wheel of Time, Citadel, Night Action, Ahsoka, they all gave The Witcher a run for its money. But The Witcher was just, I think it just obliterated the lore more so than Wheel of. Oh man, it's hard to even say that.
No, you can't say that because it's just not true.
They probably both equally.
Bro, at least Geralt looks and is described somewhat like he's supposed to be in The Witcher.
Yeah, I feel like with Wheel of Time, there's at least stuff you can pull out that's enjoyable. I never got that with The Witcher.
I don't even know how you could. I mean, like The Witcher is on the same level for sure with that. I don't see how you could find anything enjoyable in that.
There, David.
He's splitting hairs. No, I think they're probably both because like I didn't finish Wheel of Time. Wheel of Time is 100% the worst show of the year for me. I mean, it was a miserable experience to sit through
Gosh, they were horrible, weren't they?
They were so. It's so
I finished both.
bad.
You need to stop being a quitter.
It's so bad. The Witcher does good numbers for us. Wheel of Time didn't and doesn't.
That's true.
It's like the Wheel of Time is very similar to Rebel Moon to me, where it's like they are pretending. Now, the Wheel of Time as a book series, very big, developed world, lots of characters, lots of things going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
The show is like Rebel Moon in the sense of where they want you to believe that's what's happening, but that's not the case. And it's just like it just like things happen and you're like, okay, well, why is this happening? Like why is this person doing this thing that they're doing, and why are they doing this? And like and man, I wish I could remember more of that show. But it's like
I know. I wrote down
the way
I was trying to go in depth with Wheel of Time, and
Oh,
weren't having
yeah.
it that day, and I wrote down so much information. Like, why did this happen? What did this mean? Why are we here? How did we get here?
like
Nothing added up. But that's kind of The Witcher too.
Sandy.
So maybe they're just both even, because I don't think anybody could say that The Witcher was.
No, I
better.
wouldn't. I know. They're probably on the same level for me. I mean, at the very least, at least Henry Cavill was there, right? I mean, like he's got at least a little bit of like gravitas, and he's like doing his best. And I can't say that about anybody in Wheel of Time.
That's true.
They can't like they.
Yeah.
Everyone is. It's all of the acting is flat. The character development and anything going on in it is all exposition. Does it remind you of a certain movie that came out recently?
I don't necessarily agree with you though on all the acting being flat though. I don't think that's true with The Wheel of Time. I think most of it, yes, but I think that the lady that played the evil chick that falls in love with main character dude or whatnot, what's her name? I thought she did good. Can't remember her name. I thought she did good, and that's really about it. But yeah, outside of that, yeah.
No, I mean it just because like there are moments where in like with Rebel Moon, like Digimon Hansu, there are like moments where he's trying pretty hard. You can tell that he's like at least trying to take what the like abysmal material they're giving him, like he's like trying to take it seriously or whatever.
Yeah.
But all of it still just falls completely flat. It's
so
just
what's your,
it doesn't mean anything.
Do you want to talk about Rebel Moon now?
No, we're not there yet. It just keeps coming up in conversation because it's
All right, well then I told you my worst. My favorite TV show of the year. Let's on a more positive note. Now, the ones that were in contention were One Piece, The Bear, and that's it. And I'm gonna go with I went with One Piece. I think for me,
okay.
I really enjoyed it because I was just shocked. Like I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was by Netflix, and it was a good shock, and I like that. That's what I want. I got the same feeling watching One Piece that I got kind of in a similar sense with Godzilla. More so with Godzilla was that we talked about in our review, and we don't have to rehash it.
Yeah,
is that it felt weird going to the movie theater, being excited for a movie, and coming out and that expectation being not just met, which is I'm happy with, but exceeded, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And with One Piece, I had no expectation at all. I didn't know anything. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch this anime because David's been telling me to watch it, and I watched the first episode and I was like, oh, it was wacky. I'm like, okay, let me watch the second one and the third one, and I got really into it. I enjoyed the morality, kind of the high fantasy, the goodness to it.
Yeah,
and I think there's so much of that missing, and that's why The Bear is a great series. Don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed it. But
I need to start watching
with One Piece, you're gonna win me on the good aspect of it, the good morality, the uplifting tones, the positivity, because we get more so Game of Thrones level stuff to where everything's a nihilistic and a drag.
Well,
A drag, not in a sense of like, well, Game of Thrones was the last few seasons, but a drag in the sense of you're constantly down in the dumps because bad things are happening. And One Piece has that uplifting tone and theme and message.
yes.
And the acting was great. The writing was really good. The directing, the pacing, the editing. I thought they did a great job of balancing things. So yeah.
Well,
Our One Piece review is already up, so I'm not gonna say
go,
too much about
yeah.
it.
So I'm torn.
Beef was also another one I watched, by the way. If you haven't had a chance to watch Beef, it is pretty raunchy.
Okay. I don't even know what
I wasn't expecting it to be that raunchy, but Beef was a good series on Netflix.
Chosen one. Okay. I'm actually remembering stuff that I watched, TV shows I watched this year, just like as we're talking about this stuff. So my list has increased a little bit. So okay. This is going to be probably at least my second controversial opinion of the night. I think I'm giving Best Television Show to Fall of the House of Usher, which I feel like is like, I don't really care. But I really enjoyed the show. It's got. Go ahead.
Isn't that a horror TV show?
Yeah.
Have you been going to church lately?
Good one. Yeah, I think so. So it's like One Piece, The Chosen One, Fall of the House of Usher are probably my top 3 of the year. I think I could easily be swayed in any direction. There's a lot of really good acting in that show.
Is that what pulled it through for you? Because like for me,
think
One Piece was like the character writing.
Yeah.
Was Fall of the House of Usher. Was it the character writing?
A lot of it's the character writing. Yeah. And, no matter what you think of Mark Hamill in his personal life, he puts in an excellent performance in the show.
Mark Hamill's a great actor.
Yeah. He just like, he nails his performance in it. It's, and I'll let me say this. It's like, it's got its faults for sure. There's a couple things in it that I'm like didn't 100% work for me. Because it's based off loosely, by the way, the Edgar Allan Poe story.
The troll room did not like me saying that Mark Hamill is a great actor. I suspect, but he is.
Yeah, whatever. Man.
I mean, like I think it holds up. I mean, you got to separate that personal and business side.
Yeah, there's definitely he probably would hate me as a person in real life. Based on like the way that he acts towards other people. But yeah, I mean, like, can't deny it. I really can't. Like, I think that it's pretty strong. And I like,
Have you seen Mark Hamill in that space opera movie? His acting in that's pretty good.
Oh, gosh. It's like, what are you talking about?
The one that came out a few years ago. The Last Jedi.
Yeah, let's stop, please. That poor guy. That poor man.
I know he did not like.
I'm pretty sure someone like threatened his life for him to like stop talking about how stupid those movies were.
I respect him for that.
Yeah, it's just really, it's really strong, man. Yeah, it's got problems for sure. And the most of them I wouldn't deny. Like, there's like some stupid modern day politics stuff that they put in there that's like ugh. But there's some really good. There's a really good monologue in it about business, like modern business practices, and Augustus Tiberius, thank you for the $20 super chat. It says, Happy New Year, guys. Haven't been able to tune in lately, but always enjoy listening, watching Studio Ghibli movies at the moment. If you have seen any, what are your thoughts? Any favorites? Jake D and I recently watched Spirited Away again. Or I haven't seen it in a really long time, and I think it was the first time he'd seen it. And it's the one that
Is that on HBO Max?
It is, and it's the one I've been trying to get you to watch for a while. So maybe this is the year for you to finally watch it. It's wonderful. That movie came out, I think, 2001, and the animation is still so good. And then I love Princess Mononoke. as well, which the first time I saw that movie was a lot darker than I had expected it to be from Studio Ghibli. So, yeah, love Ghibli movies. There's quite a few I still haven't seen though, and I'm working through them. And it's not Studio Ghibli, but I have an anime movie on my list that I want to talk about. So,
I hear you on that, man.
Maybe this is the year. This is the year.
Tiberius,
I'm gonna bug you.
You are our producer for one of our producers for episode 157 with that donation.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I'll have to watch that on HBO Max and let you know my thoughts. I know we started to watch it one day and then we had to stop and go do something. I can't remember what happened. My dog probably threw up or something. But yeah, definitely we'll get to it. I'm gonna get into more anime because One Piece left a good impression on me.
Awesome. Just don't start with that. Just don't start with that as an anime because you won't finish it for like 3 years.
No, I'm not starting with that. So many seasons was in that. It's like, yeah, bump that.
But yeah, so Fall of the House of Usher at the moment is probably number 1, and then it's One Piece, and then it's The Chosen One, which is it's a little Netflix series about a village that believes that Christ has been reincarnated in their little village in Mexico. And I won't tell you what happens, but they may or may not be correct about that. And it's kind of like an interesting little like. I think it's interesting. It's because it's kind of like the human aspect of it, of like what people will potentially believe. You know, I'm trying to. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
because I'm trying not to spoil it because like there's.
I caught your drift. There's
a lot that goes on in it, and it's kind of like there's a bit of commentary on the human condition in it. And so that's really what kind of got me. And it's like, what happens if this like little kid is like thrust into this position? Because anyway, it was interesting. And again, it's like that's kind of what I'm looking for these days. And then I would put Reacher on this list, but since it's not done, I don't know. It feels kind of unfair to me.
I think the only reason why I didn't give The Chosen One a watch is I was hearing a lot of people talking about how it was heretical, but maybe I should give it a watch to see. Was there anything that struck you as heretical in it?
Not that I can remember.
Or
not
blasphemous, like heretical or blasphemous.
No, I mean like the idea that it's like Christ reincarnate
I know you watch
again.
Horror movies.
Oh my gosh. No, I mean like I don't think that it's something that you're not going to go away from this and feel like, oh, I've been like spiritually manipulated. Yeah.
So the whole thing from this is the whole idea of this is that he is Christ reincarnated.
Allegedly.
Okay.
Yes, allegedly.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I can't give away too much. It's like short too. I think it's like 6 episodes. I like just kind of watched it on a whim, and yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I
hear you on that. I guess that wraps up TV shows.
Pretty much. There's some other stuff on here that like.
So what's your favorite movie of the year?
No, it's still -1. That hasn't changed.
Yeah, me either. It hasn't changed. After watching The Covenant, Hunger Games, Leave the World Behind, Rebel Moon, Silent Night, and Leo, it's definitely Godzilla.
So
Who was your runner-up? How about that?
It might be Extraction 2. Of the stuff that I've seen this year. That's tough. It might be Extraction 2 and then Talk to Me.
Yeah, it's Extraction 2 for me. What's funny, though, is that I really don't think that after seeing... Dang it. Yeah, I would give it Extraction 2 over The Covenant. What's funny, though, is that with all these movies that are listed, I would probably put Hunger Games below Five Nights at Freddy's.
I forgot that came out.
it really wasn't like as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it was bad, don't get me wrong. But... I mean, you got Indiana Jones 5 and stuff like that. That's not what we're here for. We're talking about
smokes.
Best movie. Definitely Godzilla. The emotional impact of that. I cannot wait for that to come out so I can buy it and watch it as much as I'd like. I'm definitely going to get a physical copy of that.
I'm really hoping, because I don't think we're going to get the black and white release in America. Hunger Games looks like it it did all right. I was checking because
Yeah.
it was struggling for a while there, but I mean, if you believe its budget and we go with the double your budget, it made money. I mean, I don't think it probably made as much as it was probably hoping, but I don't know where that series is going to go moving forward anyway. I don't know if they're even,
Wonka's been making money, dude.
Has it
Wonka
really?
made yeah. I don't know what his budget was, but it's made $384 million
Holy
worldwide.
smokes. Oh, it destroyed what its expectations were. Oh, yeah. Its production budget was $125 million.
Okay.
That seems high.
Daggum, so you got to think like.
Well, you know what's weird though? No, I haven't heard anyone talking about it.
So 375, really, you're probably looking at 450 for it to break even.
To break even, so that okay.
450 to 500 million to break even realistically, because now it's no longer the 2 times; it's like 2.5 to 3 times, and it's probably even. You gotta think they're not even collecting.
I guess so.
All the numbers,
I don't know if I don't even know because people have been saying that, but was there that much marketing for Wonka? Because that's the thing is like we always say kind of like double because you get in it like kind of an idea. And then I keep hearing people go, no, well, now you 2.5, 3 times. And some people are like even 4 times. And I'm like, well, hang on. Like,
there's this guy I follow on Twitter that does a really good in-depth analysis because when you're looking, the difference, basically just what the difference is between profit and revenue. And he more so follows Disney movies than DC. And he gets into all the taxes, what they're getting, the theater fees and all that mildew and
that makes sense.
3 times probably is more
accurate. Huh.
Yeah.
Ugh, that seems nuts. Ugh. Yeah, I haven't heard anybody talking about Wonka. Like,
yeah. I haven't heard anyone,
I know,
except for one group of people that said that it was actually good. So
I know a lot of people
pleasantly surprised.
I know a lot of people that were like saying people were getting upset because it's a musical, and I'm like, y'all, the first one's a musical. Like the original one's a musical.
Aren't all of them a musical?
I don't
know the original one is. I didn't
Johnny
watch the one with Johnny Depp.
I saw it years and years and years ago. I don't remember anything about it except it being like him just like trying way too hard. Like they went way over the top with him,
Yeah. I do agree with you though that Extraction 2 is my runner-up for this year as well.
Sisu was really good too, though, but I feel like Sisu might fall into 4th place for me. Man, I liked Sisu. I don't know. I feel like I'd have to go back and watch. Sisu might beat out Talk to Me for the 3rd spot. Only because there's like some stuff, there's some like plot stuff in Talk to Me that doesn't work. Or it's a little kind of confusing about like mechanics, if that makes sense. But I also I also really liked that movie. Maybe it's tough, man. I didn't actually think I would, it's a small group, right? I mean, that's what, like 4 movies. I'm trying to look down this list to see if there's anything else in here. No, those are the 4 movies for sure this year that I've seen that I think are probably would be my top picks. Sisu's an easier recommendation for people, as long as they're not like squeamish about violence, because it's pretty violent.
All right. Now, what's your worst movie of the year? Do you want to get there now?
Yeah, that's fine. That's tough, dude. Okay. I think deep down, it's Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm.
I think
that's the other one I was considering too.
I think it's Indiana Jones, and I think it's Indiana Jones, and this is
what was the other ones that were in competition with Indiana Jones?
Oh, well, after Indiana Jones, it's Rebel Moon.
Okay,
and I can explain why. It's Indiana Jones because Indiana Jones is a prime example of how you ruin a franchise, like just absolutely. Because like, listen, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is not a good movie. It looks like a masterpiece compared to Dial of Destiny.
Yeah.
Like, at least there is an attempt with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull to be an Indiana Jones movie. Dial of Destiny is not that. And it's such a mess of a movie. The logic in it is not even a thing. Like the MacGuffin, like the thing that he's chasing after, is just like the stupidest, like woo-woo object I think that they've ever put in one of these movies. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have, like Indiana Jones has always had a bit of groundedness to it. You know? You had the Ark of the Covenant, you had a cult in India, which was maybe like at the time of the original three, that one might be the most like kind of, you know, magic-esque one. And then you had the Holy Grail. So it's like they were at least going for this idea of like artifacts that are potentially in existence somewhere. Like you can, going into an audience and like watching this, you're like, okay, he is an archaeologist who's going after like these actual things. And at least the concept of the Crystal Skull, like I don't think they did a very good job with it at all. But at least the concept of the Crystal Skull was still sort of within that realm, even though this isn't the place to get into that movie, but like it just didn't work, you know?
Right.
But conceptually, like there was something there. And then in the new one, they're just like, well, what about time travel? And you're like, you lost you jumped the shark. You jumped the shark. And that's why I think it beats Rebel Moon. I think in a different year where Indiana Jones like was just kind of Crystal Skull bad, you know, or you know, who knows? Maybe in a different timeline could have been great. Rebel Moon is just a prime example of like. I think it's the best example of the year of like character writing gone wrong. Or like, and man, maybe that's not the right way to put it.
I was gonna say, I don't know.
It's
I
like
guess I wasn't as hard pressed on Rebel Moon as you were.
It is a frustrating. Like I'm fascinated and frustrated by Rebel Moon because I want to know how this production went. Like I want to be in the writer's room. I wish I could have just been like shadowed the entire creation of Rebel Moon. Because it's like none of it works. It doesn't work. There's like, because okay, and I can't. I guess I haven't mentioned this because we haven't had the show since then. But I saw a couple different people talking about it and being like, well, no, the movie's bad because it's derivative of all of these other franchises. Star Wars. What was there's another one that everyone.
There's a bit of Matrix in there. Got some Marvel with it, with Thanos and Gamora.
I would say more like, yeah, I guess like it's a little more like 40K. What's that franchise that there's like, it's got like a really hardcore following. Warhammer. So like there's like Warhammer. It's got that little bit of Dune. Seven Samurai is like a huge influence on this.
Seven Samurai.
There was another one that a lot of people were talking about that. Battle Beyond the Stars was something that I've never seen that, but people were bringing that up. But the point being is it's like this idea, and it's so weird because Star Wars would also be considered derivative of something then. And like they are using it in this way to be like insulting. I was like, no, those stories told in a different setting can work. It's like, so I don't think that's right. And it's why, like, you know, I'm always big on defining terms. And so it's like, so derivative something, it's like, I'm probably like typically not going to say that about something. You know,
because so many stories can be.
Well, I don't think there's nothing that's this idea that there's something that's being created today that isn't influenced by something else. I don't think really exists. You know,
Yeah.
it's the way that you tell the story. It's what we talk about all the time.
Tolkien was influenced by stories before
Norse
him when he was
mythology.
older.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff there, and that's not the problem, right?
Nope.
The problem,
Bad writing, bad
yeah.
plot,
He didn't write characters. He didn't write characters, and then like
he didn't write the plot.
Yeah, and what he did is he went, well, let me give you, like, his idea of writing characters is giant exposition dumps.
Yeah, instead of showing us now. And
Holy smokes!
Before we continue,
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Let me say this. Now, I really, 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 and I told you this before we started. I really wanted to like this movie, Rebel Moon. I especially wanted this to work out for Zack Snyder because, there's some. He seems like a nice guy from everything I've seen and heard. I mean, I haven't delved deeply in it, but the limited information I have, seemingly without meeting someone, right, seems like a nice guy. And I imagine with all the movies he's made recently, he has to be, because that has to be the only reason why he keeps getting the ability to make more movies. And I see too that, like Christopher Nolan, I've seen others compliment him in profound ways and in meaningful ways. And so I say that to say, along with how he lost his daughter, in a way I can relate. I'm like, man, I really want this to succeed. I really want to come back because I know, like with the DCEU, he really fell through on that, and his vision just wasn't a good vision. It wasn't. I definitely enjoyed the more serious tone, but good night. It did not have to be what it was. But with that said, that dude cannot write David.
No, he can.
I don't want to be mean,
listen.
But I want to be honest. Like,
no, it's fine. No, listen. Be honest about it, because
Right.
it's like I understand that it's a terrible thing when you lose a family member, when you lose a child, and all that. But like, that's not what we're talking. We're not here to talk about that.
No, exactly. No, it's like, but because I can relate in how he lost his daughter, I'm like, man, and just some other things. I'm like, man, I really want this to be good, and plus I want to watch a good series. I want this set off. Like, yeah, let's make it worth it. And so that was my preconceived notions going into watching Rebel Moon, right? Getting into that kind of frame of mind, and man, did he just completely drop the hammer. It's like, I think I told you, I texted you, I'm like, Zack Snyder is like is what Michael Bay would be if Michael Bay thought he was Christopher Nolan. You know what I mean? Like, thinking he's this auteur, like Zack Snyder thinking he's Martin Scorsese, or what's the other one? Why am I drawing a blank right now? Pulp Fiction director, Quentin Tarantino.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
well,
like,
he thinks
he's not that. Like with Michael Bay, it's like, at least he said, I direct movies and write movies for 14-year-old boys or whatnot.
Right.
Teenage boys, whatever his comment was. I'm still going to judge the movie as it should be judged, right? I'm still going to criticize it as it should be critiqued. But like, that is different for me than Zack Snyder. And you hit the nail on the head. There was no character writing, no plot writing, no payoffs. It was just big exposition dump after big exposition dump. And when the first one happened, David, I was like, oh no.
That's how like
foreshadowing.
They just started like talking about, I think it's because it's about her, right? About
yeah.
Her name's slipping my mind right now.
She's Cora.
Cora.
She said they beat the love out of me or something.
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
she just keeps talking about herself, and other people keep talking about her, and I'm sitting here going like, can you show this to me? Like, it's one of those things, because I know there's this like prequel comic out there, which again is so annoying. That's like, I don't want to have to go find other material to be like involved in this story. And like, also, she has no development through this entire story. I don't think anyone has any development through this whole story. I'm pretty sure that every character in this is the exact same character from the very beginning of it to the very end of it. Like, they are all completely static characters. And some of them, they just kind of exist. It boggles my mind how this turned out the way that it did. That someone was just like, yep. Like, it's so weird too, right? Because you had mentioned the Batwoman movie earlier, Batgirl movie earlier.
Yeah.
Like, Rebel Moon gets through. Batgirl doesn't. Flash gets through. Flash is probably number 3 for me this year.
For worst movie?
Yeah. It's a mess. But there's something I wish I knew right now what it was. There's something like specially bad about Rebel Moon. And I don't know if it's like the arrogance of being like, I'm going to make a better Star Wars movie than Star Wars, or just the build up for me, because like I think Snyder's been bad for like a really long time.
I agree.
I don't
obviously we agree on this, and anybody who's been following us for the past few years knows what our thought process is.
Slow-mo moon.
That
dude, it's weird. The action,
good night. The slow motion.
Dude, it's like, worse.
How did he manage to get worse?
It's worse than the Snyder cut.
David, can I please?
It's like significantly worse. Please. Go ahead.
Can I please teach Zack Snyder how to use slow mo real fast as a layman's perspective? To my understanding, when I've seen it done correctly, take The Covenant for example. I don't want to spoil anything. But there's this part in the movie where, all hope seems lost, right? And Jake Gyllenhaal falls to his knees. And as he's falling to his knees, I believe he falls to his knees and then it goes in slow motion, or like right before he's about to hit the ground, it goes in slow motion. Because you're there, and as the audience is in slow motion, to kind of bear the weight of everything that's going on with the character.
Yeah.
Right? And the same thing with Saving Private Ryan when he's on... when they're storming the beach of Normandy and Tom Hanks' character, goes in slow mo right then. You're feeling the weight, seeing the horror and the tragedy of everything. Zack Snyder is just freaking doing slow motion for tossing seed out in the field.
Yeah,
and not even in a meaningful part.
Yeah, so this is the way that I would try to explain it. I think slow motion is fine if used correctly, and I think that you use it typically for 2 reasons. To slow down action because you want to emphasize something. Right. It's a stylistic choice, if you will. And then the other reason is like kind of what you were saying is like for dramatic effect. If you want to, it's the same idea behind like, okay, when every bit of like what you're doing in filmmaking is all about trying to get that like right dramatic effect for the situation. I think that Snyder may have come from sort of like, I don't know if it was like watching The Matrix and the hallway scene in The Matrix or whatever. And it's weird, dude, because and here's the thing too, is like I'm pretty sure he had like creative control over pretty much the entire project. At least that's what I've heard. So it's not like your normal. It's not like your normal thing where like he's directing, you have someone writing a script, you have someone who's your director of photography. It seems like he had his hands in like every bit of the movie, and it's where you see like these real dude. There are some slow-mos in that, like when she's in the barn, like fighting all those soldiers. There's this one shot where like one of them, she like trips the guy or throws him, and it's this really weird angle where like he hits the ground and some like dust flies up. It's a really ugly shot. It's in slow motion. It doesn't.
That whole choreographed fight scene is horrible.
And
here's
the thing is like, and someone had mentioned it to me where he was trying to do this thing where he was slowing down shots and then ramping them down even slower to almost get like still frames, which I was like, okay, I think that's a cool concept. I don't think he had the vision to make it work because I don't think he does it enough. And it's not like, and honestly, the visuals just like aren't impressive enough for that. Mm-hmm. One of the things that at the time, from a visual perspective that was interesting is when he did Sucker Punch.
Yep.
Now the movie's not good either. In fact, I bet there's quite a bit of similarity between Sucker Punch and Rebel Moon from kind of like an out, not story wise, but kind of like that creative standpoint. Though to be fair, it is similar in the sense that it's like, okay, we're here in this kind of setting. Okay, now we're moving to this kind of setting, and now we're back on the ship. Like the ship is essentially like the place where all of the girls lived in Sucker Punch, and then every location that they go to pick up a new person is like a different dream that one of the girls is having. So maybe there is some similarity there, but yeah, it's weird, man. And visually, like I think that Rebel Moon looks really, really gross. Like it's kind of just like everything's like real dirty brown. It reminds me of that like there was like a era of video games that were all that like sepia kind of poop colored those tones or whatever, and it's just too much, and the movie is it has no sense of humor. It's got like no levity. I mean it pretends like it's got drama, but I don't really feel for anyone. Like when what's his name? Charlie, the guy from Sons of Anarchy.
I know who you're talking about.
It's Charlie something. I can't remember his last name. Hunnam, right? That's his last name. He betrays everybody. I'm spoiling this too. I don't really care. He betrays everybody and then like immediately gets killed. And I had no emotion about it. Like there wasn't a, oh yeah, he's gone, or a, oh no, he betrayed them. I was just like, okay, he did tell you that he was an opportunist. Like he told you pretty much straight to your face, like what he was going to.
Everything.
Yeah, it's just.
And then and it's not even that he told her, exactly who he was. Like this is someone you just met, and then she just completely blurts out everything what they're doing.
Yeah,
like what they're going. Like, hey, we're going on this adventure to rebel against the government in charge.
Yeah.
Like, good night, dude.
Yeah, even the setup is bad. That this massive empire would want this tiny farming community's farm.
Oh yeah, right. Like we need to
like you don't.
We need to feed our massive empire, or even just that ship, right?
Right.
Just that ship.
You guys don't have the tech. Yeah.
Tiny colony, and then in the world building, we don't even really get to see like how big.
No, we don't. We don't really understand like scope for
50
them.
50 people at most.
Yeah.
And that community, how would 50 people be able to feed that entire massive ship that has to have what? 4 or 5. I mean, I know we don't ever get any official numbers, but it has to have a ton of people.
And now in the sequel, somehow they're supposed to like take on this empire.
Huh.
It's weird, man. The scope of it is really weird. He does like Snyder didn't understand Star Wars. He blatantly takes a lot of things that are similar, but they don't work at all. That whole thing when Korra and what's his face are in the bar. That's all from A New Hope. Like it's the beats are very similar.
Except for a guy is
except
for he just made it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he gets like essayed in the bar. Golly.
Literally is a South Park meme. I'm like, it's not even.
It's dude, yeah. She's like, we have no explanation for how she's like as powerful as she is. As far as we know, she is a tiny human who happened to work for this empire. She gets this like they do all this stuff where like, oh, she has this gun. You remember like they show her gun and all this stuff, and it's like, oh, it's got like these markings on it, and you're like, oh man, maybe she's just like this crack shot. She's like, whatever. It's like, nah, not really. Like there's nothing that really like distinguishes her from. It's like the Master Chief problem to some degree. Like, why is she more powerful than everyone else? Like her, it's like remember when I was saying it was like
because she has all this training, but then we really outside of that one
and
flashback,
those grunts don't
like the excuse. Yeah,
those grunts
that's
don't
like the excuse that they give. Like, and then she was part of the executive or the the Secret Service, so to say, for the
Sure.
princess.
But like somehow that makes her better than the supposedly like well-trained grunts who also were bigger and more numerous than she was. And they lost.
Well, yeah, and everything is it's simultaneously. I think we've said this a lot this year when reviewing stuff. It moves simultaneously too fast through things and too slow.
Yeah.
Like a paradox, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
It's
they
like, wait,
spend
how do we get here?
they spend all this time. It's like the first 45-ish minutes of the movie on the main planet, setting up, like, kind of setting up the village, setting up some of the characters in the village, showing us, like, potentially who's going to be important in the village. And then they're like, oh, no, you don't worry about that. And they leave. Because I thought, like, when I was watching it, I was like, okay, so we have Korra. We have, I think EFAP was calling him Steve. I don't know what the guy's name was in the movie. I don't even care. But that you have like the guy that goes with her companion. I thought like, okay, well
you're talking about the guy that the guy that was there in the beginning walked up on her while she was farming.
Maybe he's the one that goes with her through the whole movie.
Yeah. From there, yep.
And so I was like, okay, you have both of them. And then I was like, well, they'll probably take the robot along because, he does an exposition dump. But I'm like, okay, well, maybe he's going to be like their C-3PO. Like he'll go along with them and help them with things that they don't understand. Or, maybe he speaks different languages because maybe we'll run into that. No, he just gets forgotten about. And then you had the young girl and her love interest. And clearly they were setting that up. And I was like, well, maybe it'll be this group of people that goes, and you'll have like the budding romance between them, and he'll learn how to be a better person and realize that the people that he's been, because he kind of does, like they kind of rush through that pretty quickly at the beginning, but like, oh, okay, maybe he won't stay with them, and like the two of them will go, and you'll get like that sort of maturity and coming of age for the two of them as well. And I'm sitting there like thinking about all this stuff, and then I go, oh no, forget about all of them. And then you just don't see him for the rest of the movie. And the rest of the movie is just go to point A, pick up person at point A. Go to point B, pick up person at point B. And then, like, we don't really learn much about any of these characters. It's not... Yeah, it's bad. It's really, really bad.
One of my favorite parts is when they go to pick up Prince Tarok or whatever his name was. And that guy's like, I like gambling. And I'm like, oh, brother, straight out of freaking
and then
Star Wars, the prequels. And then he's like, okay, well, and she's like, well, we don't have enough money. We don't have 300,000 denaries or whatever, right? And he's like, well, that's fine. If you lose, you'll just have to be my slaves for however many years, rest of your life or whatnot. And I love how no one's like, no, that's not a...
It's so stupid. Yeah, it's so stupid. And then you're like, no one would do that.
You're off your rocker.
They would have been better. Like, they could. Yeah, I don't even want to try to give like a better explanation as how they could have done it because the whole thing's pretty dumb. Like the idea that he's gonna let him go because he tames this animal for him. Doesn't make any sense. The fact that he didn't just like get on the griffin and fly away and not come back makes no sense.
Right? Like immediately.
The whole like thing is also straight out of Harry Potter.
Yep.
Like the whole like kneeling to the griffin and I was like, holy smokes, it's like, man, I understand that like you want to kind of like take from some things. Like I'm cool with that, but like that's when you're getting into that territory of like ripping off other work. Where it's like you just ripped this directly out of Harry Potter. Like it's not even remotely different.
It's not influenced by it. It's just
they took that. Oh man, it was so. I was just looking at that and I was like, I can't believe it. Like you could probably take the scene of like Harry taming the hippogriff and the scene of that guy with that griffin or whatever, and play them like next to each other, and it's probably pretty similar. It's like it's so weird, dude. And it's one of the most like bizarre things for me too is like they have these moments of like characters walking through the ship in between the places they're going to, and other characters are like sitting around, and we never get any like dialogue or drama or anything between the characters.
Yeah.
There's not like Digimon Hansu's character and the guy that tamed the griffin, maybe they're like from factions that don't agree with each other, and we could have like a little butting of heads going on there. Like, okay, so you remember how I was talking about in like One Piece, where it's like this, not today, but like when we talked about it, how is it Sanji and Zoro, right?
Yes.
In their relationship, it's like you don't even get anything close to that in this.
Right, this, frenemies type relationship at first, to where it develops over time. That's because, David, there's no character development in this. There's no story development in this. There's nothing. I mean, it has the narrative and the characters just have an extreme lack of focus that leaves so many just questions, dude.
Yeah, and that's where what you were kind of saying about it feels like it's just flying through the movie.
Nothing
that's where that
cohesive.
comes in. It's just like they're not spending any time with the characters. They're not slowing down.
He just can't. I mean, man, I think it's just a lack of ability to craft cohesive narratives and fight sequences too. The fight sequences
they're so bad. Dude, the funniest part to me, and I wish he had just, he probably didn't even realize it, but so there's a scene where they get they find that like rebel group or whatever, and then they all get captured, and the guy who is leading the rebel group charges at that like spaceship or whatever, and like stabs through the window. And I thought it was really funny because like the guy in there just like shoots him, and I thought it would have been really funny if it had just been like a total waste of that guy's like effort, where he just like he goes and he goes to the thing and he tries to stab it and like he misses, and the guy in there just goes boom and he falls, and they're like, oh no. But they,
was so funny,
and like the tear wall, dude, it's so ridiculous. Like he does that thing and he dies, and there's like a tear going down his eye, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh man, dude.
I can't remember who it was. I think I saw.
My favorite part was in the first fight sequence, how like she could have been killed at pretty much any moment if that general would have just fired his pistol at her or whatever.
Yeah, I know.
I
know. There's like
there's one shot in particular where there's no one around her, and plenty of time to fire.
Oh,
like she's wide open for a shot, and he's just pointing it there at her, just not doing
dude.
anything.
So
I'm just gonna wait for you to kill all my guys before.
Dude, so many movies have that problem now. EFAP, they're putting out their like Christmas movie watches or whatever, and they watch Silent Night, and I had forgotten about it, but there's a scene similar to that in Silent Night where John Leguizamo like walks through, and he's got like a metal baton, and the two security guards both have guns, and instead of shooting him, he like tries to punch him with the gun. And you're like,
I know that.
And it's like it's one of those things that's the stuff that no matter what it's in, it's like it always bothers me because it's like, guys, just have him come through and shoot them. Like you don't need to have him do like this physical karate one-on-one fight. Like he can be menacing without having to do that. You know, it's like because it's illogical that they wouldn't have just been like, oh, well, now we're just gonna shoot this guy.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Even with the main villain in this, he doesn't Admiral Noble.
Oh yeah.
I wonder if this is gonna be the bad guy,
dude. Dude, and
on the nose,
dude, yeah, and on the nose, them literally wearing Nazi uniforms. Like it's not even kind of. It's goofy, but I kind of the guys that were with the big like red drapey uniforms and the weird masks.
Yes,
I did like the design of those things. I can't really give you.
I think Zack Snyder, from what I can remember, does a his movies have had good design, right?
Maybe I just
with like costumes and things like that, from what I remember.
I think that in particular, I was like, that's cool, but it was the rest of it with the uniforms where you're like, dude, you're not even on the nose. Like it's beyond on the nose. Like you're just like, get it? It's like, dude, yes, we get it. Like it's very obvious what you're trying to invoke here, and I just a little bit more effort into something like that, where it's like, hey, you have like the Star Wars stuff like that it's obviously like space Nazis, but like it's not immediately recognizable. Like it does sort of seem like a space age like uniform type stuff, instead of it literally looking like you pulled them out of an Indiana Jones movie and stuck them in space.
Exactly. Well, I mean, and like even with that first scene, like you're talking about character writing, like he doesn't understand how to write villains because he's just making him not just the main villain, but his the army soldiers, the military soldiers. All they want to do is grape, right? That's they're like everyone wants to grape except for the one. And then, but
they're
with
all
Admiral,
that like goofy villain. Like they're not serious villains.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the same thing with Admiral Noble, is that you would think someone like that, how you write a faction like that is when you're taking, especially in that universe, right, this idea of taking over multiple worlds, right? You need resources. You can't just destroy a colony or be like, hey, we're going to take 10,000 bushels so your people starve, and because we take everything. It's like, hey, you kind of try and start off on the right foot, and then maybe you show them they're menacing by, hey, listen, if you don't follow this is exactly what's going to happen. We're going to kill you and put someone in here who will do what we say, or we'll rule it, and we'll let you know of this civilization that went against us, or world, and this is what happened to them. You know what I mean? Just there's many ways you can correct that without immediately going in there. And at first he's nice, yes, but being a blowhard, and just it always evolves into,
I know.
In order for the bad guy to be bad, he has to kill someone, right?
Yeah, it's just not interesting.
I don't even think I really care about that trope as much, more so of the way that it's handled and done.
And a lot of that goes back to what we were saying before, where the whole idea of why they're there and what they're trying to do is really stupid.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, okay, yeah, they there's like a dynamic between the chief and other guy who wants to just see what we can do, because he's really kind of, I mean, the not the chief but the other guy, his logic, at least from the way you're sort of looking at it, makes a lot of sense, because it's like, okay, this massive empire has come down and they're telling us they need food from us. We can't say no, because saying no would be bad. And then also it's funny too that Cora basically is like, oh, you need to do this thing, you need to act this way, and she like clearly knows who these people are, and no one in the village is like, how do you know all of this?
Yeah. Right.
It's
like, like, how do you know everything about them? No one has asked. She's been there for 2 years, and they don't know already. They don't think, there's clues she gives to be like, hey, okay, well, maybe we should take advice from you. How do you know them? What should we do? How are they like before? What, and it's just, nope, nothing.
So, yeah, I mean, all this to say it's, I think I probably have as many problems with Indiana Jones as I do Rebel Moon, but Indiana Jones just...
Well, it's longer, too.
Is it?
So yeah. It was almost, I think it was.
Dude, I thought
check
Indiana...
for me real fast. It was at least 2.5 hours, or 2 hours and 45 minutes.
I thought Indiana Jones was about as long. Because
No, I'm talking about Indiana Jones.
Oh, it was longer. Yeah. Rebel Moon's is like just over 2 hours, and I think Indiana Jones is 2.5, maybe even a little more. And yeah. I mean, they're both schlogs, but it really comes down to the fact that it's like, Zack Snyder destroying his own vision is a little different than Indiana Jones being like destroyed. As a franchise. obviously not that. Indiana Jones could have recovered from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and they really shouldn't have brought Harrison Ford back. It really should have just it's one of those things that's like it's just time to put a new actor in that role. If you're gonna do Indiana Jones, find a new actor to take his place.
Yeah,
to be the new do a new trilogy. Yeah,
I think what's worse with Indiana Jones, I think why Indiana Jones, in my opinion, would be worse than Rebel Moon was because of how much they crap on Indiana Jones himself in the movie.
True.
And,
yeah,
it's the same thing.
It's
with
really
Star Wars, right?
it's
Being
really
that broken
disrespectful.
Older man and just a disrespect. Whereas with Rebel Moon, it's nothing's established. For me, man, I gotta pick one. I guess. What's the worst movie of the year to me? Is it going to be Leave the World Behind or Little Mermaid? The only thing that keeps me going back with Little Mermaid is actually getting a headache, right? You know what I mean? It's just like that's really what's holding it down. Whereas, I can see certain parts of it were a lot better to me than Leave the World Behind. But in Leave the World Behind, I didn't get a headache, and I guess both you could technically say were a huge, massive waste of time.
Right.
But at least there was a point with The Little Mermaid. There is no point with Leave the World Behind. Oh, man, it's so hard. I'm just going to go with Little Mermaid.
All right.
I
know it's tough.
Oh, man. It's just... Yeah, man, with Leave the World Behind, I mean, it gets that 26,171 bombs from me. It bombed. The only thing that bombed more than that movie was Obama's presidential administration.
Oh.
And so, but I have to go with The Little Mermaid just strictly because I got a headache from that rap. I don't want physical illness from seeing a movie. You know what I mean?
I understand. I was gonna.
Sandy said that Zendaya is the new Indy.
Oh, that's interesting. I guess we can't.
But Indiana Jones was also in that conversation too with Little Mermaid and The World Behind. Man, and it's hard too because with Indiana Jones as well, it's a huge waste of time. I mean, the disrespect in that, I definitely understand that. And at this point, obviously, we're splitting hairs here between these terrible movies. But yeah, for me, those would be my top three. I would have Leave the World or Little Mermaid, Leave the World Behind, Indiana Jones, and then I would probably 65, and then Rebel Moon, and then 65.
Okay. Oh,
if
man.
y'all haven't seen 65, it is terrible. Let me. Just
yeah, it looked bad, and then when you said it was bad, I was like, well, I'm not gonna watch it now. I was just looking at my list a little bit. It's funny that Blue Beetle kind of not good, not on the level of some of these really bad ones.
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles, Mutants in Manhattan is not good. Mostly just forgettable, It's not doing anything that's mind blowing or so bad that it's worth really putting on a top 3 worst, which is pretty much how I feel about Fast X and Transformers. And Five Nights really just, congratulations on making a lot of money, and you will be seeing a lot more of those movies.
Yeah, right.
Equalizer 3 was bad, but it's
oh, I didn't even have Equalizer 3 on here.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Equalizer 3 was bad, but it wasn't that bad,
Yeah. The Killer was all right, but I wasn't in love with it like some people were. That movie's pretty divisive from what I've seen, but I also don't know. It's hard to tell, because I watched it because I was like, oh man, all right, this seems like something that could turn out to be really good, because it is David Fincher, right? Let me make sure that I'm right about this before I sound like a dummy. David Fincher, yeah. Directed by David Fincher. Michael Fassbender, about an assassin. It's got some cool stuff in it. There's stuff I like about it. I think it's going to be a little too slow for some people. It's kind of the point. The idea behind it is more of like, hey, what would it really be like to be an assassin versus like what you get from something like John Wick, A lot of waiting around, a lot of trying to like do your timing right and all this sort of stuff. And then he gets like burned, and it's sort of like him trying to figure that whole thing out. There's some good acting. But for me, it just like, and I don't know, it's kind of one of those movies that I think I may go back and watch again one of these days and see if like I feel a little differently about it. But it was like it was a hard recommend, and for me, like sometimes it's a hard recommend with stuff like that because I know some people just like aren't gonna be into that, so I'm not gonna waste my time recommending it to them. But yeah. I think that's most of my list.
Where does Barbie,
oh yeah,
Meg 2, and Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning fall for you?
I mean, they're all pretty low down there. I mean, Barbie gets away with not being as bad as some of the other stuff on this list because of Ryan Gosling.
Yep.
And the set design. I mean, yeah, of course.
Ryan Gosling set design visually, it's good. I think cinematography is good.
Some of it. I wouldn't go too far with that.
Mission Impossible had good sets and
Yeah, it's sort of
cinematography. It just kind of.
It's not Fallout.
That's not exactly.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this because I've been thinking about it, and I watched every one of those movies before Dead Reckoning came out. Mm-hmm. I think there are only 2 Mission Impossible movies that are above average, and I think it's the first one and Fallout. I think the rest of them are somewhere in the average to maybe a little above average because they're kind of fun to not being very good. Like 2 and 3 are not very good movies, especially in hindsight. And then I think it's 4 and 5. They're all right, but they have issues. They've got problems. And then Fallout is the weird outlier because I think that the first one's a pretty good movie. It's really faithful to the original source material, and it's got a really cool like aesthetic and vibe to it. It's a little bit more of an espionage thriller than it is a straight up action movie. And I like that. And it was refreshing to when I saw it again. I was like, man, it really does feel like a movie from just like a different time and space. And then Fallout, of course, like it just really stands above everything else that's come out in that franchise, and everything else is sort of like, eh. So yeah. What was the other one? No, Meg 2. Meg 2 was fun to see in the theater with someone else who knew it was as stupid as I thought it was. So you can find a reason for it to be fun in that sense. Yeah. That movie's definitely not good, and I think it seems like they realized, especially after the first one, that they needed to go more into the schlock than taking the plot seriously. But if you're not into that, you're not gonna like it, and it's not a movie I would probably ever watch again.
No, really?
Yeah. I watched the first one again, but I got bored.
That's funny.
Yeah, I got bored about halfway through.
Wow.
And I guess that's really it.
That's it. What a terrible year for TV shows and movies. But on a positive note, we got a really great movie in Godzilla, and some other good movies, and some pretty good TV shows. Yeah,
there's a few winners. Oops, hang
All
on a
right,
second.
I will tell you and I'll ask you this: the movie I'm most looking forward to this year in 2024 is The War of the Rohirrim.
That's not a
Um,
surprise.
yeah.
No one is
The-
shocked by that.
no one. The TV show I'm most looking forward to is The Rings of Power when it gets
Oh
announced
Lord.
for some interesting reasons. Let's just say that. But on the other one is House of Dragon. I am looking
Oh,
forward
that's
to
right. That is
that.
coming out this year. So let's see. Of the stuff that I've written down so far. Oh, I need to add Arcane here.
Oh yeah, Arcane. Oh no, that's
Yeah.
number one on the list. I'm most
Yeah.
looking forward to Arcane.
So pretty much the first half of the year so far, at least with stuff that's been announced, Dune 2 is the only thing that I'm really looking forward to. Rohirrim should be interesting. I need to see a little bit more on it. You know, like I want a full length trailer and
We voice our concerns about it.
Yes.
With what has come out. So yeah, there's a lot more we got to see about it. But yeah,
I'm curious about the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, but I have a feeling it's not going to be very good.
she's gonna be the missing link.
House of the Dragon for sure.
She's gonna be the key to everything.
There's a Bong Joon-ho, the guy that did Parasite, is putting a movie out this year called Mickey 7.
Yeah, with
I think it's Fassbender.
Robert
isn't it?
Pattinson.
Is that Robert Pattinson in that?
Yep, Robert Pattinson.
It was hard to tell from the poster. Let me look at this real quick. But specifically because it's him, I'm looking forward to it because I like a lot of his movies.
What's the TV show you're most dreading to see?
That's a tough one. So
I guess we can't really say Rings of Power because it hasn't been officially announced, but it's coming out this year.
So we have Halo 2, Fallout, Tomb Raider.
Ooh.
And let me put House of the Dragon on here so I remember that. House of the Dragon Season 2. And I'm sure I'm missing some other stuff. I'm just going to go ahead and put Reacher in here, and I'm just going to count it for 2024 since that's when it'll be done.
That's fine. I'll have to start watching Reacher.
I'll
have to watch season 1.
I am looking TV-wise. There's a show called Shogun coming out that I'm interested in.
Oh, yes, me too.
And I'm curious about The Last Airbender. Huh?
Oh yeah, The Last Airbender and the 3-body problem. I'm interested in seeing how that's going to be. It was supposed to come out this past year, but it's kind of like a Chinese sci-fi show, if I remember correctly.
I'm adding video games to the category because I want to keep track of that this year too. So far, the only 2 games I have on the list are both technically remakes, which is really funny because we talk about this in the Discord quite a bit. That a majority of the stuff that I've just been interested in as far as gaming is concerned has all just been remakes of stuff. It's like all the new stuff coming. There's been a few things here and there.
The third one on your list is there too, but you can put the third one for me. You know what it is?
Huh?
In-state football 2024.
Nah, have fun with that. I have a feeling you're going to be disappointed, but
oh, I definitely am because they're doing it on the Frostbite engine, which is Madden's engine. And I haven't played a Madden game since. Did I play 2020? I may have played 2020, but definitely 2019. And I haven't bought a Madden game in a long, long time. I haven't paid full price for a Madden game probably since I was in high school. But yeah, that Frostbite engine of Madden's is absolutely terrible. So
Frostbite.
I think it's going to be on Frostbite.
That's the Battlefield engine.
Oh, yeah.
Do you? Sandy mentioned something called Silo, or
no? Silo came out this year. It talked about TV show.
Season 2. Season 2
of Silo.
Yeah. I just don't know what it
I'm not
is. I
sure.
don't know anything about it.
It's on Apple TV.
Oh,
It's kind of like
that's
a
why.
Fallout-esque. Yeah, it's kind of like a Fallout-esque kind of TV show, if I remember correctly.
So, and then comics, Rippaverse is still going strong, and I'm going to keep reading those. And then Mark Millar's got quite a few books coming out this year too, so I'm looking forward to that. It's a nice little grouping of things to read, and some of it's as far as Mark Millar is concerned, it's just some of the best writing going on right now in any sort of like direction. He still knows how to write villains, and that's just not, dude. It's not. He is funny. He tweeted recently because some people were asking like, hey, I'm like interested in writing, or I'm interested in like comic book writing or whatever. How do I learn? Do you teach like classes? Can you teach a class? And he's literally like, find all the people that you really like, and he's like learn from the best, like not just the people you like, but like the people who are considered the best. Look at how they write characters and find a way to imitate that. It's kind of like what we were talking about. It's like you're not trying to rip off their characters, right? Like, oh, I'm just gonna make like my version. It's Bane, but by a different name, or Batman, but by a different name. It's like, okay. And then, I think too, you have to actually kind of like storyboard your characters, their wants, their needs, their weaknesses, their strengths, like all of that kind of stuff. And then that's how you write the character. And then when you ever have a question of like, okay, well, what would they do in this situation? You can kind of look back at how you've like storyboarded that character, and you go, okay, well, they probably wouldn't do that. Their attitude would probably be more in this direction. They would probably react this way. It's not that hard. I think it takes a little bit of effort, but it's not that hard. And it's why it always boggles my mind when we get stuff like Rebel Moon, where it's like, well, what do these characters want? What are their desires? Why are they willing to go help this little farm? It's not like Seven Samurai, where like there's duty specifically, or like you're a Ronin, or like you're paid to go, and oh man, I don't want to get too deep into it because it's probably time to close the show out. But man, yeah, I don't know, man. Let's see, Kong v Godzilla, or Godzilla v Kong. That'll be fun.
Shut up.
Civil War, the Fall Guy. Fall Guy, I'm interested in. I'm hoping that turns out to be that. I hope that ends up being just like a fun, enjoyable movie. I'm not expecting the world from it, but Furiosa comes out this year. The Joker sequel comes out this year, which I'm curious about. I know it's like I don't know, but it's something I'm really curious about seeing.
Same.
And then
as well.
And then Argyle, but I don't have a lot of hope for Argyle.
You and me both.
I'm just kind of curious more than anything with that one, because I like the director. But yeah, man. I mean, it's Afterworld series of books. Castaway Rebecca Ferguson.
I think that's
just curious how.
Pretty much it for me too.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting year. We're going to have a lot to talk about regardless. I think after all this time, we're starting to slowly get more organized with the way we're doing things, at least a little bit, So, is there anything else that you wanted to mention? I don't know if you. We should probably thank John Burke and
Did a payment come
and
through
Augustus
from John?
Yeah.
Augustus and John Burke.
It did. Yeah.
Producers for this episode. We appreciate you guys.
Let's see. I remember when this was about Beast movies and the worst. Yeah. Hi, Zoran. It's good to see you. Yeah, I misspelled best. I it said Beast. Sorry, y'all. I had a lot going on today. Gosh.
We are getting more organized and more on schedule, and this year we're hoping it's going to be our best year yet.
I hope so.
And really working on that value for value system, right? Putting out better value for you guys, better quality, and on a consistent schedule. We apologize for being late tonight. It's just we couldn't figure out why my audio was low, but then David was able to figure it out.
Yeah.
And got it handled.
Yeah, you just try everything till something finally works.
Yeah.
Um,
We literally tried everything.
Literally everything, and then the very last thing I think it would have been possible for me to try is what worked. And now I kind of have an understanding of it. It's just like when you use your computer for a lot of different things. And it's like my settings are all right, but then there's tiny little things sometimes that have to get tweaked depending on what I'm doing. But now I know, and so in the future it should be less of a problem. So, cool. Well, Joseph, it's been a pleasure to be doing this again with you, and I'm looking forward to next week and whatever we've got coming up. I don't even know. The Beekeeper comes out, I think, on the 12th or the 19th, something like that.
Maybe we can put a little, if you want to hit our direct.me link in the description of this video, and you can join our Discord. In our Discord, maybe we'll post and ask the good people what they think we should discuss this Monday.
Yeah, maybe we'll do, we should do some news this year for sure. And maybe you'll finally watch Spirited Away, so we can use that to fill in a week if we have a slow week.
Maybe if you're lucky, I'll do that this week.
Oh, brother, if you're lucky, you be lucky to watch Spirited Away. Cool. All right. Well, until next time, y'all. Take it easy.
See y'all.